can only talk general now because we're now live on YouTube. Big Brother might be watching.
Or might be listening.
Okay, so we are up to Mafrishin Kan Gadol and Vav Mid Aleph. Today's Gemara is so beautiful because it aligned itself perfectly with the Parsha that we learned today. A lot of the concepts that we learned on Friday and that we're going to learn today are all in this week's Parsha. Like we had yesterday, that when you make a Gzera Shava, the terms don't have to be exactly V'shava koyin u'ba koyin. By nega of the bias, that was one of the things that was in today's parsha, and we're going to learn about nida and about boil nida, which are also in this week's parsha. So it says, "Mafrishin koyin gadol." The koyin gadol had to separate from his family and go into this lishkas haparhedrin 7 days before Yom Kippur. So zok to Gemara, loma mafrishin. Why is it that he has to separate? Frag to Gemara, lama mafrishin, kidde karminan. Did we not just learn the sugya? Either Rabbi Yochanan kidde islay, either Rabbi Yochanan who learns it out of the miluyim, either Rish Lakish kidde islay, or like Rish Lakish who learns it out of Har Sinai. Zokt Rashi, either Rabbi Yochanan kidde islay the Yalaf miluyim, either Rabbi Shimon Lakish kidde islay the Yalaf mi Sinai. This is the question that we're asking. Why does he have to separate from his wife? Let his wife come with him. You know, they say if you go on a vacation without your wife, it's half the price and twice the fun. But the Gemara is asking if the Kohen Gadol is going to the Lishkas HaParhedrin, let him bring his wife along. Sharei al Karchach Lishkas Parhedrin Loi Haisa Kedusha. It wasn't kadosh, like they're not allowed to be together. She'ein yeshiva ba'azara. In the Lishkas Parhedrin, surely the Kohen Gadol wasn't going to remain on his feet for 7 days, and you're not allowed to sit inside the Azara. So this Lishkas Parhedrin must not have had kedusha Azara. Elamachi Beis David Kolshkein Shchiva. So there's no reason why his wife couldn't have joined him. So to Gemara. Tanya Rabbi say Omer, the reason why is Shema Timtza Ishtay Safek Nida. Imagine if his wife becomes a Safek Nida, V'yavai Aleha, and if she's a Safek Nida and he has relations with her, that would be a problem. Frek the Gemara, Atu B'Rashi Askinan. Are we talking about a Russia? You're not allowed to have relation with your wife if she's a Safek Nida. So Rashi B'Rashi Askinan Sheyavai Al Safek Nida. Zok the Gemara, no. We're afraid he'll have relations, and afterwards it'll turn out that she was a Safek Nida. And now he's Tameh, and he will not be able to do the Avodah on Yom Kippur. Rashi explains, after she'll have relations with him, she will wipe herself. She will see blood there. She doesn't know if this dam was there while they were having relations, or maybe it happened after. In this week's parasha, we learned that if someone is bala nida, and now the Kohen Gadol will be barred from going into the Beis Hamikdash this Yom Kippur.
Didn't the Kohen, you prepared another Kohen Gadol, another Kohen, in case the Kohen became Tama or he died?
That's right, but that's a backup plan. We want to be able to have the real Kohen Gadol. If that happened, it wouldn't shut down the whole system, but we still want to avoid that from happening.
Isn't the whole point of the Prisha that he shouldn't be with his wife?
Well, not necessarily. It wasn't that at all. We learned, if you learn it out of the Miluyim, it had nothing to do with his wife. It was Prisha for Kedusha, or for Tahira, or if it was from Har Sinai, it wasn't a wife. It was just to be isolated. We learned by Har Sinai the isolation was to make him more like a malach, to get him focused. It wasn't necessarily to keep him from his wife. The Gemara says that the Gemara here is telling us that there's also a component of Tumah. But that's not the main focus that we learn from Har Sinai, or that we learn from the Malum is not about a Tumah Yotzim Megufay. That component the Gemara is adding right now. So Zok the Gemara.
Yosy, even in Har Sinai, when the Yidden had to like three days away from their wives.
The Prisha of Har Sinai is not referring to the 3 days that the Yidden had to stay away from their wives. The Prisha of Har Sinai was the Prisha that Moshe, after the Aseret Dibros, when he went up to the mountain, after the Aseret Dibros, that's where there was a Prisha, according to Rish Lakish. So that was him alone going up the mountain, and the Gemara, it was on our base, the Gemara says, what was it? What was the purpose of it? So once is so that he can get rid of the food from his intestines, right? Or that he should have a level of kedusha, or that should be focused. But it wasn't about tumah.
Got it. Good.
So Zok the Heilige Gemara, L'Shem Yav Elisha v'Timtza Safek Nida. So therefore we don't let his wife come along for the ride. Zok the Gemara, Kaman Rabbi Kiva. This would have to be consistent with Rabbi Kiva. The Omar Nida Matames Boila. What exactly is going to happen if he is, let's say he is with her, and then after he's with her, she sees dam, exactly like the case we were discussing. Is he actually going to be tummy for 7 days? Now the Torah says if someone's boil a nida, he's tummy for 7 days. But we're not talking about someone who's boil a nida. We're talking about someone who was boil his wife, and then she was boiled and she saw dam. That's not quite being boil a nida. That's a suffix. Who said that that's tummy for 7 days? Zok the Gemara, only Rabbi Kiva holds that in such a case he would be tummy for 7 days. The Rabbanon ha'amri ein nida matames boil. The Rabbanon hold that a nida is not matames boil. So this is a sugya, the shaila of suffix nida. If after the bia she saw dam, and we don't know was the dam there b'shas bia or not, there's a machlokes. Rabbi Kiva holds we look at it like he was boil a nida and he's tummy for 7 days, and the Rabbanon hold no, he's not. He's no different than if he touched a nida, and if he touched a nida, he's just tummy that day.
Isn't this a suffix deraisa?
No, because she has a chazaka. That we even say in the beginning of nida we learned, and we're going to learn it now in Rashi. But at the beginning of nida we learned that whenever a woman is chorus nida, we say that anything she came into contact with for the past 24 hours is tamei misafik. But it's not really tamei misafik because she has a chazaka. But it's an extra chumrah. And the question is, does that chumrah also apply to make him into a boil nida? But it's not really a suffix. It's not a true suffix that would be a suffix deraisa to be machmir. So let's see where Rashi elaborates on the exact case. Command Rabbi Kiva Damar Roya Dam Tame as boil. Lemafreya. So Rabbi Kiva says if someone sees dam after bia, it makes her husband tame even though he was with her before she found the dam. Kol may ace la'ace, 24 hours before. So if someone has, according to Rabbi Kiva, if someone has relations with his wife and up to 24 hours later she becomes a nida, he is tamei for 7 days, because he holds kashem shegozru shematama taharis me'ace la'ace l'mafreya. Just like there's a gzera, so it's not really a subject of rice, it's a gzera chomer derabana that she's matama taharis for the past 24 hours that she would have touched. So too, we also say that she makes her husband into a boil nida. The machlokes as to whether or not you post or you past date his tumah back a day is actually discussed in Masechas Nida b'Perek Halayad. Derech b'nois Yisrael, it was the custom of Jewish women. They would use 2 bedika cloths. Echad loy, one that he was boidik himself with afterwards, ve'echad lo, and one that she would boidik herself with. Nimzal shaloi, if they found dam on when he wiped his aver, then for sure tamein shnein kol shiva. There for sure, Tommy, because then without a doubt, the vade hayadam b'shaspia. Surely the source of that dam is from his wife when he was boiler. She'ein derech ha'ish lotzeis mimenu dam. It's not the norm for blood to come out of a person, to come out of a man. So therefore, you have to assume that the dam that he found on his bedika cloth is surely from her. But nimtza al shalah, if she found dam on her bedika cloth, oisioin, if it was literally instantaneously after the bia, for instance, who loshen miyad, beloshen yavoni. Oisioin means instantaneously. What does that mean? Shekancha befrishas yitzias hashemes miyad. Literally, as he pulled out, right there she had a bedika cloth to be bought. Then you say Tamei and Vade. Once again, everybody agrees she's for sure Tamei, because clearly the dam was there a moment ago as he was pulling out. The Shaila is Nimta al Shalah, the Bach sticks in al Shalah, Nimta al Shalah, she found in her cloth, but she wasn't boidik immediately as he pulled out. Rather, she was only boidik achrzman, after a little bit of time. How much time is a little bit of time? Kloimar, Zot Rashi, Sheherchika Bedika. She left some time between when he pulled out and the actual bedika. Then it's only Tamei Misafik. Then he's only Tamei Misafik, because we don't know if it was, we don't know with certainty if the dam was there even 10 seconds ago. Vezel Acherzman, what is this time delay that we're talking about that demarcates between Vade Tamei and Safik Tamei? It's Kadesha Tered, between Safik Tamei and no Tamei at all. Vade Tamei is only Oisia. Safik Tamei lasts for a certain period of time. There's Achazman. How long is a period of time after Oisia where we would still consider it a Safik? Is Kadesha Tered Minamita V'Sadiach Espanel Shalmata. The amount of time it would take for her to get off her bed and then wipe herself. So I'm going to throw out a number. I don't know if it's accurate. Let's say 10 seconds. So if she's boidik immediately, then they're Tamei Vade. Both of them are Tamei Vade. And he has to bring a carbon. And if she was boil anida, and if it happened between that moment and 10 seconds, then it's a suffix. The achakach, and if it happened past 10 seconds, then metame meis leis, then she's tame meis leis if she touched an object, but the eina metame is boila. According to the Rabbanon, her boil would not be tame because there was a 10-second delay. We don't even say that's a suffix. And this is what it means. If she waited more than the 10 seconds to make the bedika, and then she was boiling herself, let's say 12 seconds after he pulled out, then she's like any other woman. Any tahiris that you touch, food, kalim, anything that you touched for the last 24 hours will become tamei, but the eina metamas boila. She doesn't make her boil tamei like a boil nida. Shalagazru tumas meis leis leading tumas boila. Lagabi the special tuma that a boil nida is tamei for 7 days. Lagabi that they were in geyser. However, we still look at him like he touched her, and he'll still be tamei for the day, but he doesn't have the din of boil nida. And Rabbi Kiva Eimer afatama boil. So we're talking about a bedika that she made more than 10 seconds, and I want to reiterate, 10 seconds is not accurate. It's just a number that I'm picking that would be the time it takes. So if it happened more than 10 seconds after the bia, there Rabbi Kiva holds the husband is tummy for 7 days, and the Rabbanan holds that the husband is not tummy for 7 days. So Zok to Gemara, this makes perfect sense to say that he has to be separated from his wife if you hold like Rabbi Kiva, because if a Safek Nida occurred, it would end up being metame him and he won't be able to do the avodah. But according to Rabbanan, we wouldn't be worried. Come on, Rabbi Kiva don't need the metame es boila. The Rabbanan, however, any need the metame es boila. Amalu Rab Chisda said, well, the Rabbanan also have to have an explanation as to why we have to separate the Kohen Gadol from his wife. So therefore, he says, "Afilu tema Rabbanan." Even if you want to say that the Rabbanan also will agree he has to separate from his wife. There's no Tumah Shivish Yamin. Zok to Gemara, let me give you some clarification and change a little bit the timing as to when all these demarcation points are. And let's say as follows. At kan lepligi Rabbanan Allah Rabbi Kiva. Where do the Rabbanan argue with Rabbi Kiva and say that he's not Tomei as a boil nida? Ela ba'achar achar. That's not right after the 10 seconds, but a little past that. Aval b'chad achar, but if it's only a little bit after, moidule. So now we've basically created a new time zone, and let's see exactly how that timing works out. Ela ba'achar achar. Zok Rashi. Shoshasa yoser me'acher zman. So let's talk about it. What are the timings? Shazman oisiyim, that's number one. The acher zman is la'acher oisiyim. B'toich kedei sheterig v'tadiach. So there's the timing of instantly. Everyone knows she's talking about that. Then there's the next 12 seconds where it's a suffix. V'acher zman la'acher oisiyim. V'oisiyim kedei b'soich kedei sheterig v'tadiach kedei eze acher zman. V'hasam katani, and it's only during that time. So it's during the first 12 seconds. V'hasam katani tmein misafik v'loy pligin Rabbi Kiva. During those 10 seconds where it's tamei misafik, there even the Rabbanan agree that he's going to be tamei for 7 days. Uva'achar zman pligi kedekatani, and the uva'achar zman pligi kedekatani. The machlokes where the Rabbanan hold that he's not tummy for 7 days is only after the 10 seconds or over. But during the 10 seconds, even the Rabbanan would agree that he's tummy. The agagach metama as boyala. The aleph is a very important here. Metama as boyala. Oh, this is not the girsa I was looking for. There's another girsa that I don't have in this old print of the Gemara. The letters on the side. If someone could be so kind and read to me, besides this aleph, the newer Gemaras have another letter there referring to the tziyonim on the side. And if you could please remind me what it says, I would appreciate it. Somebody's got to have it in their Gemara. This Gemara is like 35 years old, so it doesn't have anything.
My Gemara is 70 years old.
Oh, so it won't be in your Gemara. But does anybody have a Gemara where it has another number over here?
No, I only have the regular one aleph.
Okay, so then I'll quote it from memory. Matama, things that she touches, me'es leis. So she's or she's matama's boil me'es leis works according to the Hagais Merav Rancher. He's goes this way. It's matama boil mishum maga, like I said earlier. So it doesn't mean she's matama boil me'es leis as a boil nida, but she's matama boil me'es leis like any keli or food that she would touch. But she's not considered a boil nida according to Chacham. Aval bechad achar b'soich achar zman. Again, the Yisus is not so good over here. The hainu b'toich kedei shetered moed. So he's moed that within those 10 seconds, there it would also be a boil nida, and post that time is where there's a machlokes. So therefore, even according to the Rabbanan, it makes sense that we don't allow the Kohen to be with his wife. Zok the Gemara weiter. Omar B'Zeira. Shma mina, we see from here that boil nida is eina kanida. Now we know the halacha is a nida is tamei for 7 days, and she cannot toivel during those 7 days. The night after the 7th, which would be the night before the 8th, that's when she would toivel. And she wouldn't be able to eat kachim till the following evening because she needs to have harav shemesh. She has to have a sunset after she toiveled. So Reb Zera, from the context of our Gemara, as we will clarify shortly, boil nida eina knida. The boil nida is not like the nida, and he could be v'toivel b'yom. Even though he's tummy for 7 days like the nida, but he can toivel during the 7th day. He doesn't have to wait till the night after the 7th day to toivel. The Amrit boil nida kanida, if you're going to argue that a boil nida also has to wait 7 full days and can only toivel the night of the 8th, well, how will this Kohen Gadol work out over here? Amos tovel. Let's say the Kohen Gadol had relations with his wife right before he went into isolation, right? So even if he's going to wait 7 days, he can't toivel during the 7th day. He has to tovel b'layla. He'll have to tovel the night after the 7th day. Well, if that's the case, l'mochar hechi avoid avoida. If he's going to be tovel Yom Kippur night after Kol Nidre, how is he going to do the avoida the next morning? V'haboy harav hashemesh. The Kohen Gadol can't do avoida until he waits to the following evening, which now disqualifies him from working on Yom Kippur. So he would really have to stop already a day early. El lav shmamino. Boil nida eina kanida, it must be that he could toivel on the 7th day, and therefore, if he's pirish just for the 7 days, he can toivel on erev Yom Kippur and then when Yom Kippur night arrives, that'll be his Harav Shemesh. Rav Simi bin Arda Amar, no, afilu tema boy only the kanida. Even if you learn that he needs 7 full days and he can only be toivel at night, so how is this going to work over here? If he toivels Yom Kippur night, he will not be able to do the avodah Yom Kippur. He separates from his wife actually 8 days before Yom Kippur, but right at the end of the day. And therefore, the day before the 7 days started, he can count as day 1, which means that day 7 will really be the day before Erev Yom Tov, and then he can toivel the night before Erev Yom Tov, and then come Kol Nidre night, he will be Torah. The problem is, Rashi asks, the Mishnah doesn't say 8 days before. The Mishnah says 7 days before. So how could you say that he has to be purish from his wife even earlier? And on that Rashi says, Somach l'shkiyas achama is shmoyne yomim l'fnei Yom Kippur. In fact, Rashi, the Kara Shiva, why are you calling it 7 if it's really 8? Because of 10 minutes before Shkia that he's purged from his wife, that's not considered an extra day. So therefore, the day before his 7 days will be day 1. Therefore, the day 7 will really be day 8, which means he could toivel. The toivel or shall Erev Yom Kippur. He can toivel on the last day of his prisha. And then when the sun sets on the Erev Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol will be good to go. So now we have a shaila, a boil nida. Is he tamei 7 days, and does he have to toivel the night after the 7th day, or can he toivel on the 7th day? So the Gemara at this point seems to want to say that, because the Gemara is trying to make the Mishnah fit in, even if you hold that the boil nida has to toivel the night after the 7th. So the Gemara challenges it. I'm going to prove to you that the boil nida can actually toivel on the 7th day itself. Because the Brisa says as follows: anybody who has to toivel, if he became tamei for whatever reason, he can always make a tefillah by day. He doesn't have to do it by the night after. There's only 2 exceptions to this rule: nida v'yoledes, tefillah b'layah. So it's very specific here. Dafka nida v'yoledes, nida in, boil nida loy. So you can even die from this brisa that a boil nida does not have to wait till the night. A boil nida can toivel on the 7th day. So Gemara, no, you don't have a raya, because maybe it means nida v'chol da'asim erbuya. When it's lists of nida, it doesn't mean exclusively nida. It means any tumah that's just like the tumah's nida, such as a boil nida, maybe would also have to be toiveled by night. So that's not a raya. Let me solve this. Okay, so now let's see another raya that Gemara wants to bring. May say, Baal Keri kemagesheretz. A Baal Keri is like a magesheretz. And what does that mean? Zokt Rashi, lit boil b'yoyim tomosai. Someone who sees Keri could just toivel right away, and he'll be tarred at night. Someone who touches a sheretz can just toivel right away, and he'll be tarred at night. Someone who touches a sheretz is a rishon l'tumah. A Baal Keri, I think, is an avatoma, but regardless, he's tamei, he becomes tarred at night. What about a boil nida? A boil nida, we say, is tamei for 7 days. Ketame meis, he's like tamei meis, he's tamei for 7 days. My love, what chiddush is the Tana trying to teach us when he's telling us that a boil nida is like a tamei meis? Lav l'tfila, it must be trying to tell you a chiddush that just like when someone's a tamei meis, he can toivel on the 7th day. He doesn't have to toivel the night after the 7th day. So to a boil nida can also toivel on the 7th day. So we have a raya that a boil nida can toivel on the 7th day. So Gemara loi. That's not what the Brisa is trying to impart. L'tamasa. It's trying to tell you that just like a tamei meis is tamei for 7 days, a boil nida is also tamei for 7 days. But maybe the boil nida toivels at night. Zok Gemara, do I need a Brisa to tell me that a boil nida is tamei for 7 days? Do I need a Brisa to tell me that a tamei meis is tamei for 7 days? Tamasim behedik sivbuhu. The Torah is very explicit with the amount of days that these 2 people are tamei. Hi tumas shivik sivbei. By meis it says he's tamei for 7 days. By hi tumas shivik sivbei. And by boil nida, the Torah says beferish in this week's parsha that he's tamei for 7 days. So that cannot be the chiddush of the Brisa. So if the Brisa is comparing boil nida to Tamei Meis, it must be once again telling you that the tefillah can occur on the 7th day. Zok Gemara, no, you don't have a raya. Elalav l'tefillah. Also, it must be telling you the chiddush of tefillah. Zok Gemara loy la'olam l'tumasim. Really, it's talking about how long the person is tummy for. That's not a chiddush because we know it's obvious. We know that Saya Tamei Meis and Saya Boil Nida is tummy 7 days. So the more Sefer Strichale. There's more to the brisa that we didn't yet quote, which we'll quote now. And the second half of the brisa is a chiddush, and we can argue that it said the first half of the brisa, agav the second half of the brisa. And what does it say in the second half of the brisa? That although Tumas Boil Nida is the same as Tumas Meis, but there's one difference. The Tumas Boil Nida has a chumrah. El shechomer mimenu Boil Nida. The Boil Nida in one aspect is more chomer than the Tamei Meis. Shemetame mishka v'moishav v'tuma kala l'tama oichel l'mashka. Now the halach is a Tamei Meis. If someone became Tamei from a Meis, the only way he can convey Tuma to anything else is by touching it. If you're a Tamei Meis or you're Avatuma, you could only make something Tamei if you touch it. If you touch a Keli, it'll become Tamei. If you touch Oichel L'mashka, it'll become Tamei. A Boil Nida could convey Tuma through another way. Of course, if he touches something, it'll become Tamei. But what if a Boil Nida is sitting on a bed and there's actually 10 mattresses piled up? So the Boil Nida is not touching the lower mattresses. He's only touching the top mattress. Nevertheless, all the mattresses below him are all Tamei. And that's called the Tumah of Mishkav. Or what if he's sitting on a pillow on a chair and he's not touching the chair itself, he's just touching the pillow. But his weight is resting on the chair will be Tamei as well. And that is a halacha by Nida and Zava as well, that whatever they sit on becomes Tamei. However, there's a difference. What level of Tumah does this mattress acquire? If a Boil Nida sits on mattresses, the bottom mattress will be Tamei, but it will only become a Rishon L'Tumah. Now, a Rishon L'Tumah could only make food or drink Tamei. So therefore, if an apple touched the apple will become a Sheni L'Tumah. It touched the mattress, which was a Rishon, it became a Sheni. But if I took a Keli and touched the mattress, a Keli cannot become a Sheni, so the Keli won't have any Tumah. But Oichel L'mashkin will become Tamei from the mattress because the mattress becomes a Rishon. However, if this same scenario occurred with a Zava, a woman, then, or the Nida, the very woman he was boiled, the bottom mattress will become not a Rishon L'Tumah, but it'll become an Avatuma. And therefore, even if a Keli touches it, the Keli will become a Rishon. But regardless, the Boil Nida has this extra Tumah of Mishka v'Moshav, which does not exist by the Tamei Meis. And that's the Chiddush of the Brisa. So once again, we're back to the Shaila. When someone is Boil Nida, he's Tamei for 7 days, can he tovel during the 7th day, or must he wait for the night after the 7th day? And now the Gemara is going to bring the final raya, a very simple raya. It's black and white. The Tani Rab Chia, Hazov, Vazova, Vamatzor, Vamatzoras, Uboil Nida, black and white. The Tamei Meis, Tvilasim B'yoyim. Nida V'yaledes, Tvilasim B'layla, Tiyofta. So this is a black and white raya, no Lomdus, no Cheshbon. It says it black and white in the Brisa. A Boil Nida can tovel on day 7. Ishmak. Zok the Gemara, you're very paranoid. You're worried that he's going to be with his wife, and then after he's with his wife, she's going to be Paris Nida, and now he's going to be Tamei, and he won't be able to do Avodah. If you're so paranoid that because of that you're being mafreshim from his wife, why are we not worried? We're not letting his wife in, but men, anybody else can come in. Why aren't we worried that somebody will walk into his room and drop dead, and now he'll become a Tamei Meis? If you're so paranoid about his wife, so be paranoid about anybody coming in, and he should be in complete quarantine, in complete isolation. Zokt Rashi, his wife you don't let in, but everybody else you let in and out. Well, why not have separate him from becoming a Tumas Meis as well? Don't let people just come in and out. Maybe someone's going to drop dead in there, and now will become a Tumas Meis, and once again, he won't be able to do that. Since we're not concerned that he'll become a Tamei Meis, obviously, even if he becomes a Tamei Meis, he will still be allowed to do the Avodah. Zoy Seimeres Tumas Hameis Hutra Hi B'tzibur. There is no Iser. Lechatchila, when it comes to an avoid of the tzibur, which all of the avoiders on Yom Kippur are, a kohen's allowed to do it even though he's tummy. So therefore, I'm not worried that he'll become tummy because of a mace. It's a non-issue. The kohen gadol lechatchila can do the avodah even though he's a tummy mace. The problem is there is one carbon that the kohen gadol brings on Yom Kippur. That's a personal carbon. He brings the ayil to be mechaper on himself and on his family. So how do you deal with that? Zokt Rashi hutri b'tzibur k'dichsev ish nitcha vein tzibur nitchin. We said by this ish is what it says by the Pesach Sheni. A person who's tamei by Pesach Sheni, a yachid bringing a carbon Pesach, he cannot bring his carbon Pesach. If he's tamei, he's going to wait to Pesach Sheni. But the tzibur, a carbon tzibur, never gets pushed off because there's tum involved. Yom Kippurim kule carbon tzibur. On Yom Kippur, everything that's brought is a carbon tzibur. For Rashi, what about the kohen gadol's own carbon? Ba'af carbon shaloi doiches atoma. You know why? Shereizmane kavua v'karbanis tzibur toli boy. There's a gears change in the newer Gemaras that all of the karbanis tzibur are linked to it because it's all part of the voida. They all have to be done as a unit, so it's considered a carbon tzibur. So therefore, we're not worried about him becoming a tummy mace because it's a non-issue. Ravina Amar afilu tema tumas hameis duchuyahi b'tzibur. Even if you hold that we allow tumas hameis b'tzibur is not a lechatchila, it's a b'di'eved, and we have to find every which way to avoid it. We have to find every which way to avoid it. So Rashi, duchuyahi b'tzibur, afal pisha carbon tzibur doicha. Even though yes, if there's no option, we will allow the kohen to work in the Beis Hamikdash for a carbon tzibur when he's tamei, but it's bekushi hutra. It's with difficulty. It's not a carte blanche. It's not a real heter. And therefore, whatever hishtadus we can make to avoid this from happening, madrina, we try to do sheyasa b'tahira. So if that's the case, why don't we put him in total isolation? And why don't we prevent anybody from coming into his room so that he will not be susceptible to tumas mace? And that's up to Gemara. Tumas hameis lo shchicha. Tumas beis shchicha. It's not that likely that someone who walks into his room is going to suddenly drop dead, but it's very likely that his wife will be parish nida. That's a very normal part of a cycle, and therefore we're choshid for tumas nida, but we're not going to be so makbid for tumas mace because the likelihood is low, and even in the event that it does occur, it will not shter david.
Why doesn't the Gemara say that she's in the zman of being a nida, that she's not allowed to be with it? But if she's not in the zman of nida,
I mean, if she's in the shasa vest, it should be a problem. That's a very interesting shaila. It's a very interesting shaila. If she's not the shasa vest, then it shouldn't be a problem. But I guess I don't know if the women want everybody knowing what their cycle is. So maybe
no, it would be a big thing to be with her husband on Yom Kippur, to see him do the avodah.
Well, no, she could still watch. She just can't be isolated with him in the room. She can come if she's tired. She can come to watch the avodah. The question is, 7 days before, is she isolated from him? But it's a good child. If it's not just a vest, maybe we shouldn't be choshid. It's a good order. So
Yosy, I'm assuming. Yosy, I'm assuming
I think Rabbi Akiva was a Baal Tshuva, and Baal Tshuvas were stronger. Stronger in halacha.
Maybe. So he was more machmer.
Huh?
So he was more machmer on her.
Yeah.
I hear.
It doesn't say it was about tshuva. He says he wasn't the Talmud Chacham.
No, it was about tshuva.
I don't think so. Just wasn't a Talmud Chacham.
And she kept learning. He didn't even know the Aleph base.
I don't know. Okay, we're in a deadlock. Was Rabbi Akiva Baal Tshuva or not? I don't know. Okay.
Yes, I'm assuming tumor hutra is only by tumas mace, and doesn't apply to the other ones.
Very, very good. A very good point, and it's going to come out in a minute. That's right, because otherwise, even if he's Tomei Machmas Nida, there shouldn't be a
Right,
problem.
right.
So Tuma Hutri B'Tzibur is only Tumas Hameis, and that's what the Gemara says. Tumas Hameis Hutri B'Tzibur. But Avada Tuma Hayotzim Megufay is going to be a problem, and Rashi is going to mention that. Explicitly soon. Okay, so let's see the Gemara weiter. Itamar. So now we're getting into a new subject. We were discussed today why he's Pirish. We discussed today when a boy Nida is Toivel. And now that led us to another topic, is Tumas Hameis Hutra B'Tzibur or is it Hutra B'Tzibur? So Itmar, it's actually a machlokes. Tumas Hameis, Reb Nachman Omer, Hutra Hi B'Tzibur, Reb Sheshes Omer Dechuya Hi B'Tzibur. It's actually a proper machlokes. Now the question is, it's very wishy-washy. Is it really mutter? I mean, l'chachila, you're not supposed to become tamei. Is it really mutter, or is it not really mutter? What exactly are the rules, and what's the nafkamina if you hold hutra or dechuya? So Dr. Gemara, we have two options of how to understand this. Every week, a different family of kohanim do the avodah in the Beis Hamikdash. So what if part of the Beisav became tamei, and part of the Beisav was tahor? And now the question is, who should do the avodah? So kula alma loy pligi to ta'ayr na'avdi tamein layavdi. There, even Rab Nachman, who holds tuma hutra b'tzibur, he's going to say, if you have a tahor koyin here, why bedaf could give it to a tamei koyin? Rashi says, you have someone who's tahor available to work today. The kula alma ta'ayr na'avdi tamimin. The carbon tamid, which is a carbon that tzibur should be done with a Torah carbon. Of course, any carbon yachid that someone brought for sure could only be brought by a tahar carbon, a tahar kayin. But the tamid, everybody agrees, would be brought by a tahar kayin. You have them available in this Beis Av. Keep ligi. The machlokes is la dure u'la'asuye taharin mebeis avachri. What if this entire family that was scheduled to work this week are tamid? Do you say just let him do it, like Rav Nachman says? Or you take Rav Sheshes, go find yourself a different kohen from a different Beisav so that you can make it beheter. If you hold Hutra B'Tzibur, if there's no kohen in this Beisav that's tar, just do it with a kohen that's tamei. If you hold Chu B'Tzibur, you have to make a greater effort to try to get a kohen who's tar, then you'll try to find a kohen who wasn't on schedule for this week to come work this week. Rav Nachman Omer, Heter hi b'tzibur, it's completely mutter, and therefore v'loy madrina. You don't have to look into a different Beisav to see if you can find a kohen who's tar. Rav Sheshes Omer Dechuya hi b'tzibur, and therefore umadrina. That was one option of how to understand machlokes. Ikad Amri, there was another option. Afilu heicha the ikad taharin utemein b'hu Beisav. Even if there's tameim and taharin in that Beisav, still poluk. Still, Rab Nachman would hold you could do it with a tamei. Poluk Rab Nachman v'amar avdi nami tameim. So you have kohanim that are tamei and kohanim that are tar. You can lechatchila select the kohanim that are tamei to be makriv the carbon tamid. That's how mekel Rab Nachman is, and he holds tuma hutra b'tzibur. It's completely mutter. You know why? The chol tumas meis, any tumas meis b'tzibur, if it's a carbon tzibur, rachmana shari, it's 100% mutter. And this is the Rashi that clarifies what Mechi asked earlier about what type of tumah it is. Kol tumas meis b'tzibur shari rachmana dechsiv ish ki yeh tamei nefesh yasa pesach sheni. An individual who's tamei nefesh brings a pesach sheni. Ish nitchel pesach sheni. Vein tzibur nitchen, but a tzibur, a carbon tzibur, doesn't get pushed off. You bring it even though there's tumah. Avo zovin u'mitzayroi and nidais v'yoldosh shetumasa yoytza lof migufay. Anytime the tumah is not something that you were exposed to, rather it originated from you yourself, loy hutra, that is not muter b'tzibur, u'boyel nida kenida. And a boyel nida is like a nida, therefore a boyel nida would not be able to do the avodah on Yom Kippur, even though it's tzibur, but a tamei meis would be able to. Omer Rab Sheshes said, we know amin Allah. How do I know this? That tumah is not carte blanche mutter. It's difficult to be matter it, and you need to avoid it. Titania, makriv minchas ha'omer. It was the second day of Pesach, and the kohen is being makriv the minchas ha'omer, which is matter the chodosh. And v'nitmas biyada, he became tamei in his hand. However that happened, it became tamei in his hand. So the halacha is Omer, he should declare it, he should stop the avodah, he should declare it, and we go, even if we have to cut down on Yom Tov, more barley to create the flour to make the new mincha, you do that. But what if in Ein Sham Elahi? What if there is no other barley to be found? That's the only thing you have available. So you have to bring it betuma. Tuma hutra betzibur. Tuma hudcha betzibur. Armim lo, you tell him, have a pekeach, be smart about it. Don't tell anybody, just go ahead and do it. Well, the shaila is, why should he be, what is so smart about not telling anybody? So here I don't have the Hagoyis, but there's a Moshe Rashi on some of the newer Gemaras, where the Moshe Rashi speaks out that if you're going to bring a Tameh anyway, the crowd, the public doesn't need to know about it. Because then they're going to think, hey, you're allowed to bring a carbon mincha even though it's Tameh. And they'll think even a carbon mincha b'yachid you can bring when it's Tameh. While we know that heter is only a carbon tzibur. So therefore, no need to tell anybody about it. Nobody needs to know. Katani miyos, Lamaisa, what does this Brisa say? Omer, if there is another option and you're able to find barley that's tar, Omer, let them announce it, and we discard this carbon. So don't you have a kloraraya that Tumah is not hutra b'tzibur? Because if it was hutra b'tzibur, just bring it. It's obviously hudcha b'tzibur, and therefore you have to try to find some way to bring it b'tayra. So it's shver on Reb Nachman. Goes hutra b'tzibur. Reb Nachman, my dina, heichadika shirayim lachila. This mincha, they only put the kamitza on the mizbeach. The rest of it is eaten by the kahanim. Now, even though we hold tumah hutra b'tzibur, nevertheless, that just allows the carbon to be kosher, and you can be makdir whatever part needs to go on the mizbeach. But that doesn't mean the leftovers that are tameh are allowed to be eaten by the kohen. Definitely not. So Zok Reb Nachman, even though normally tumah hutra b'tzibur and it would be a kosher carbon, it's still better to bring a carbon that the kohanim can eat the shirayim. There's a milah of the kohanim eating the shirayim. That's part of the normal process of the carbon. So therefore, since here, if I would continue, which I'm totally allowed to, if I would continue with the tameh carbon, the shirayim would not be able to be eaten. Therefore, even Rav Nachman agrees in this case that the carbon should be discarded, and we should start with a new tahar carbon. And I guess we could stop over here. Baruch Hashem, the blot is easy. I find that the comparison of shkolim to Yuma, shkolim is like climbing up a rock wall, and it's like rock climbing, and Yuma is like snow tubing. It's much smoother and easier. So Baruch Hashem, we have Rashi with us every step of the way, so we're very fortunate.
And also the look is easier.
That's right. And our learning should be to a big schus for Akiva Balter, Yeshua Nasan Akiva, and Tzipar Rachel should have her full Shalema. There was a in shul today, someone came and said over from Mrs. Balter that she was told that today they were able to lower his oxygen. And the shaila was, did they lower his oxygen because he's feeling better, or did they lower his oxygen because they're trying to kill him? We hope it was the former. We hope that it's because he's getting better.
Amen.
Amen.
Good work.
Thank you.
Shavua tov.
Reb Moshe.
I'm here.
Shalom Aleichem. It's so nice to see you back.
I'm not leaving.
Who is Landmark Monuments? Is that Akiva?
That's politics. They cover everything up.
Sure is.
Oh, Akiva, you sound great.
Yeah. Right?
Oh, welcome
What do
back.
you think? I was going to watch this program without any kind of input.
Welcome
Akiva, you
back,
have no
Akiva.
idea what's going on in shul. The other saying we're going to go back to new lockdown. There's no way the shul could navigate this change without you there.
Yeah, Baruch
Akiva, are you
Hashem.
home?
I'm not home. I'm still in the hospital, but Baruch Hashem.
You sound like you could breathe.
What's that?
You sound like you're breathing.
Yeah, well, they gave me permission to breathe once in a while. But,
You should have a